A big MLB trade rumor is circulating around the New York Mets organization, and that's thanks to MLB insider and ESPN reporter Jeff Passan, who wrote an article about the New York Mets and what their offseason plans could be, including what David Stearns could have in store on the trade market this offseason. And we're getting into this topic right here on the True Mets Talk podcast. As always, before we go into this topic, make sure to hit those thumbs up buttons on this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one all off season long, and also comment your thoughts and opinions down below of what you all make of this report. Because according to what is on my left right now, the Mets have available for trade per Jeff Passan a plethora of names on the screen. We've talked about Kodai Senga, we've talked about Jeff McNeil, and we've talked a little bit about Mark Vientos, and it's very clear, as well as Luis Angel Acuna, it's very clear why those names could be on the trade block, whether it pertains to a lack of production and also roster flexibility. But what we haven't talked about fully in depth is Brandon Nimmo. And the other name that I know is going to drive a lot of Mets fans crazy that I also made a video about a couple of weeks ago, and I'll link that video if you missed it on the channel in the description. Make sure to go check it out. Is none other than Brett Baty. Yes, Jeff Passan has put out there to the public that David Stearns and the New York Mets are listening in on offers right now for Brett Baty and Brandon Nimmo. And should there be a good deal for either of those names, and if the logistics work out, they could be on their way out of this organization. And by the way, another snippet of news here. This all comes on the day that the Mets decided to DFA Frankie Montas and remove him from the 40-man roster. He will no longer be on the New York Mets. He is undergoing Tommy John surgery or is rehabbing from Tommy John surgery, and they freed up that 40-man roster spot to protect prospect Nick Morabito from the Rule 5 draft. But anyways, let's get back to this trade rumor here because this is really juicy. This is really juicy. Let's start off with Brett Baty because this is a name that I mentioned. Do not be surprised if the New York Mets are still listening in on offers for Baty via trade. They did so this past trade deadline, and with the way the rotation looks right now, there's almost certainly, and there should be, a big trade acquisition for a premier pitcher to headline this rotation. Now, I'm guessing that the Mets are looking at the free agent targets as far as potential aces go, and they don't like what they see. Whether they're looking at Dylan Cease and his ability or willingness to take a short-term deal, or whether they're looking at the market for Framber Valdez, they do not like what they see. And teams that are entertaining the New York Mets for a potential trade for a big name starter. I don't care if it's Skubal. I don't care if it's a guy like, Joe Ryan, no matter who the name is. With the resurgent season that Brett Baty had, they are going to be calling for Brett Baty because he has a lot of upside. He showed that upside defensively and offensively, and he's got a lot of controllability left on his contract. That is a very important aspect here, so it's no surprise, right? And then at that point for the New York Mets, positionally, you open the world of possibilities at third base, whether it's Jet Williams coming up and making an impact. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but also you have a free agent, Alex Bregman, that's out there that you can go ahead and pursue if you're unable to bring back Pete Alonso. If the Mets really want to swing for the fences, although I think it's very unlikely, you can try for Pete Alonso and Bregman. Like I said, let me dream here for just a second. But the fact that Brett Baty and Jeff Passan is putting this out there, that Brett Baty is available on the trade block and the Mets are willing to listen to offers, means that there is a larger plan here for this lineup and for this infield shift that goes beyond just retaining Pete Alonso. And so the second point and the second name that I want to bring up here specifically is Brandon Nimmo. Now, this is a guy that I've stated time and time again. And before I continue this video any further, please do come back to the channel. We are going live to talk about this very topic plus so much more at 6:30 p.m. tonight. Myself and Rob will be live on the Mets Hot Stove Live, talking about everything you need to know about the New York Mets right now. Brandon Nimmo is a name that I perpetually brought up since the beginning of last offseason, talking about his potential move to be a DH and how he is kind of limiting the flexibility of this roster, given some of the injuries that he sustained, the plantar fasciitis that he is still dealing with, and so on and so forth, right? And it's been a widely thought, I guess, idea that moving on from Brandon Nimmo, given the contract that he still has remaining, right, left on his deal, the years and the money, it was an 8-year, $162 million deal that he signed a couple of years ago. And what is left of that deal is about 5 years, $102 million, give or take. And that's a large chunk of change to try to persuade an opposing team to try to take on a large amount of that money. But you have to break this down. And the other factor here is that Brandon Nimmo clearly has a no trade clause, which I think is absolutely one of the deciding factors that will ultimately keep Brandon Nimmo here. But if there is a team that he is willing to waive this no trade clause, whether it's maybe going back closer to home where he's from in Wyoming and joining the Colorado Rockies, if they are interested and making a splash to excite their fan base, the way that you have to do this and think about moving this contract is this: what would Brandon Nimmo get on the free agent market right now if he were a free agent? And you have to take into account his current AAV because he's scheduled to make just around $20.75 million per season. So would he get a 2-year deal? If he was a free agent this offseason, would he get a 3-year deal? Could he even get a 4-year deal even though he's 33 years old? I think a 2 to 3 year deal would be very fair for Brandon Nimmo. So let's just say it would be a 3-year deal worth $20.75 million a year. You're talking about around 62 to 63 million dollar a contract valuation of what you could potentially persuade a team to take on. So to get from 102 was what he's owed down to that 63 million dollar valuation, the New York Mets are going to have to eat just around 40 million dollars of this contract. Now that is a little bit head scratching, but I would not put it past Steve Cohen to do it, to eat that 40 million to make this team better. And just like when you move off of Brett Baty and open up that roster spot at third base, because I don't think Mark Vientos is going to be an option there, and neither is Luis Angel Acuna, there is a larger scheme here if you open up left field for the New York Mets. Now, Kyle Tucker is a name that is out there. He's going to want probably around $400 million if I had to assume. That is what they're valuing him at right now. He did have a poor season with the Cubs last season, but that was a little bit of an anomaly for him. Could that be a play for the New York Mets? Let me dream here is what I'm saying. The fact of the matter is, was what I'm trying to portray in this video is that David Stearns and the New York Mets are very much open and are making it well known and well documented to these reporters like Jeff Passan that they are open for business to create roster flexibility. And one thing that I haven't mentioned that is not really pertaining to the trade market, but a free agent target, and I'll talk about this in a standalone video, whether it's tomorrow or the day after, is according to Jeff Passan as well, the New York Mets are also interested in bringing in Devin Williams. Does that sound familiar? David Stearns and that Milwaukee connection with Devin Williams. That would be an electric tandem because it's not an or situation, it's an and situation because they want to retain Edwin Diaz and bring in Devin Williams to be the setup guy. I'll talk about the bullpen. This is very, very, very important to talk about, though, as it pertains to the trade rumors surrounding what Jeff Passan has officially put out there. All of the speculation and the buzz surrounding this fan base is very warranted because, as we all know, the New York Mets cannot stay stagnant. They cannot bring in a roster that looks like a replica of what failed last year. And in order to do that, and look different this coming year, a lot of staples that have been in this organization for the past few seasons need to be moved in order to make that room and that space for new faces to come in and make this team better. So, Mets fans, let me know what you think down in the comments section down below. Smash those thumbs up buttons. Again, this is the place to be for all your off-season Mets content right here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe while you're watching this. Bottom right-hand corner, hover over the icon and subscribe. And check us out later tonight, going live on the Mets Hot Stove at 6:30 p.m. It's your boy CP. See you all next video. Peace.